All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TFTuesday Podcast. My name is Zill. It's good to have you all back here again today. My illustrious co-host, k-libra, is still off in the wilderness of Washington, so wishing him all the best as he's enjoying his time there. But you're all stuck with me. I've locked the doors, the windows have been shut, and we're going to be talking about TF writing. But because you're stuck here with me, then I will also recommend that you check out our Patreon, which is a wonderful place where you can contribute to the ongoing continuation of this wonderful show. And, you know, I think everyone wants to continue hearing the dulcet tones of my voice, so I would very much recommend that you continue to contribute to it so that we can continue to do all the wonderful work that we do. And you get the added bonus of getting to be part of a wonderful community that totally doesn't rib and shit talk me all the time lovingly, which I love our Patreon. So, but yeah, enough about, prelude and such. I'm very excited because we have two guests here today. One returning familiar face and one who's brand new to here. So Toledo and UnstableBill, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Toledo. I've been on the podcast several times in several different forms. TF artist, and not as much of a TF writer, which is partly what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah.
Exciting. I'm Bill, UnstableBill on socials, Bill Syracusa in the Fur Planet stable. I have a couple books out. I wrote A Spot of Murder, which is a furry murder mystery, The Drone Collection, which is a hypno-thriller series of books, and relevantly to this audience, Overnight Shift, which is a steamy werewolf novella. I'm excited to be on this podcast and any podcast.
Hell yeah. And I will say it's a very steamy story, so.
Thank you. I'm in the process of writing the sequel, which we're going to get into over the course of this podcast, I imagine.
Hell yeah. No, I'm excited to have you both on to kind of chat about this, especially because I've read TF writing from both of you, and I think that you both have your own very unique kind of approaches towards it, which will make for an even more interesting discussion. But, let's start on kind of the ground level here, because I think the mechanics of writing transformation works is very particular. There's a lot of very important steps and are involved in such, but I want to start also with like the challenges that come with it too. So I was curious to know if there's any stories that you had planned but haven't really managed to write within that sphere, and what were those kind of barriers you faced and how they connected to transformation.
First of all, I want to say it's rude to ask an author, is there things you plan to write and haven't written? Because yes. Yes. Like, yes.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot, Bill. I'm calling you out.
How much time do we have? Is this like a 9.5-hour podcast? Because
it can be if you talk that much.
Excellent. I do.
Congratulations.
I think your patrons will like that. Yeah, I have kind of a short answer. I was going to let Toledo go first, but I had to razz you. I have a couple like half-baked ideas that are like, I have a service dog thing that's been like marinating for years, probably.
Yeah.
But like, I have a million works in progress for a lot of different reasons. I will say the sequel to Overnight Shift, which is something I originally wrote in 2012, was published in book form in 2019. That is one of my longest WIPs that I am sure I'm eventually going to make a real book in real life. Couple challenges on that I will get into later. Not necessarily TF related, but that's the most relevant to this one.
Yeah. So I have a lot of projects that I haven't written because I actually haven't done too much writing, in part because of the challenges. So the one that I always wanted to write as a kid, and for which I tried creating a language and created a script for the language and everything, and you can already see where this is going.
Yeah.
It was a sci-fi epic that was inspired by Star Trek, Star Wars Episode 1, and the Silmarillion.
Oh my god, what a combination.
Sorry, all of them? All of them?
All of them at once.
Yes, all of them.
Oh, nice summer reading.
There wasn't much TF in there. Another one was a fractured fairy tale style thing that involved anthropomorphic dragons and other fantasy creatures. It had a lot of TF. The dragons were natural shapeshifty, and it was
yes.
That was part of the theme. And I wrote 50k words for it for NaNoWriMo one year, and then just never touched it again. But the biggest problems I ran into were world building getting overwhelming. When you're like, Tolkien is my inspiration, it is very easy to be like, oh no, Tolkien is my inspiration. Like, this like generational genius.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Nice low bar there.
Oh, very, very low bar.
Yeah, exactly. So the one that world building getting overwhelming, and also kind of poorly defined characters, which goes into another one that I had planned for a long time but could never figure out, which was related to TF because it is Argentine werewolf lore.
Yes.
So there's do you mind a tangent into Argentine werewolf
No,
lore?
please go for it. We love tangents here.
I'd be insulted if you didn't.
So it's kind of weird in some unique ways, but in Argentina they're called lobisones, which is derived from Portuguese lobisomem, which is just wolfman.
Love it.
But like sometimes they're part wolf. They're of course part wolf and part human. Sometimes they're also part pig, which is strange.
Yep.
Like what turns someone into a werewolf isn't a bite or the full moon. It is like being the seventh son in a family. So if you're born a seventh son and you aren't baptized in the Catholic Church, you become a werewolf.
That's how they get you.
And like, there's a lot. You might transform on a Tuesday or a Friday because they're not tied to the full moon. And there's this amazing thing where in like the early 1900s, Argentina passed a law saying that all seventh sons would be godchildren of the president of the republic.
Oh.
So the rational explanation is, okay, they want to encourage birth rates. And maybe they want to, like, if there's superstitions, they want to prevent people from, like, reacting poorly to having a seventh son.
Yeah.
But also, it gets amazing, like, stories, like one from 2014 where it's like, Argentine president gets Jewish godson to prevent him from being a werewolf, or something like that. And so there are all of these things.
I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. If it doesn't, that kind of just sounds like a skill issue, frankly.
yeah, exactly. And they have since made it gender neutral, so seventh daughters who would become witches now can get baptized and be like godchildren of the president and get the scholarships that come from it.
Amazing. Amazing.
But I tried to fit all of these into a short story.
How'd that go?
It did not.
No.
It went nowhere, in part because I could never figure out a character for whom all of this would come together, and in part because it was a question of birth, like, kind of activated, like, maybe during puberty was kind of the idea. Like, you would be writing about, like, a tween, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
With 6 siblings, minimum.
Yeah.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it was. I didn't want to write about that kind of person, and I couldn't figure out another character who would bring in some of these concepts.
Wow.
So, yeah, I never got to writing the Argentine werewolf story.
That entirely makes sense, and I was going to say, yeah, that's a very high bar to be, using Tolkien as your inspiration and then trying to cram all of that, especially into a short story.
Yes.
This is also somewhat off topic, but was the dragon story, the 50K one, was that the one that I read part of, or is that a different one?
Oh, I don't know. There's probably only one, so maybe I sent it to you.
It had a princess who like ran away with a dragon, I think.
That's it.
Okay, amazing.
A princess who was a dragon who ran away with a human.
Spoilers.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's early on, so
that's the premise.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. No, I will say at least this is a funny question for me too, in the sense that I've also grappled with it. So I feel your pain. In particular, there was also a NaNoWriMo novel that I tried to write that also had transformation involved. That was also inspired somewhat by Star Trek. So again, I feel your pain. I think the concept was basically like, what if what if, there was a species that was supposed to kind of like do stewardship over like many different planets to kind of protect them from like an outside force that just really liked consuming and destroying things, and then got stuck on one of the planets that humanity was on and had to like disguise themselves through transformation and then kind of go around and try to fix things essentially. So anyways, I feel your pain on that front. My problem was not so much world building because I didn't profess to do anything grand on that front. It was just keeping my interest going and also figuring out where it was supposed to end because I actually didn't have an ending in mind. So that kind of complicated things, but
that does complicate things.
It does complicate things.
I do want to throw something out and get some feedback on because I don't know if I'm alone in this. Writing humans is exhausting. Like, I'm so...
Yes.
My other books are furry, and I'm so instantly comfortable in that. And then as soon as I crack open Overnight or one of the equivalent drafts, it's like, oh, there's humans in here. Why did I do that?
Yeah. I will say that there was... I haven't gotten it published. I do have a finished novel, believe it or not, that has not seen the light of day. But that is only humans, which again was very out of character for me to do.
What?
But I really struggled to like pull that together. I know. Sorry. I know. But I really struggled with writing that one and then ran into similar problems with the one I was just describing. There is something tangible about writing anthropomorphic characters versus human ones that I feel your pain on. There's so much more of an immediate connection, in part because there's so many more interesting things to consider, right? Like, especially if you have like a variety of different species involved, it's like, how do they interact? What are their distinct characteristics that then interplay into social situations? How does that affect, the fergonomics, so to speak, of the world, et cetera, et cetera? There's a lot more to like chew on essentially, and that I find more interesting.
For sure, even physical descriptions, it's like how many times can I write the man? I'm like, I really want to throw the wolf in here, and it's definitely out of my
wolf.
It's out of my comfort zone, and I think that represents enough of a barrier that it's like it's appreciable.
That was another thing that got me on the Argentine werewolf one. I was always trying to write humans,
right?
Because that's the werewolf standard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then, to flip that original question on its head, what stories did you feel like you really succeeded in writing, and what made those possible, and what was their connection to transformation?
Could I start? Because
yes. Please do.
Zil, you mentioned your story that you were writing inspired by Star Trek.
Yeah.
So you have activated a dormant memory of mine.
Oh boy.
Amazing.
We're on the second question, by the way. I just want to point out you've been activated on question 2.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a sleeper agent. Oh my goodness.
Oh, of course.
That was so quick.
Back in 6th grade, I wrote a story in which the main character, a human, discovered that he was someone who had crashed in when an alien spaceship crashed on Earth, and had been disguised as a human with his memories suppressed. And it ended with him like, oh no, you're actually a velociraptor alien. Here, come with us. And I won a ribbon for it at the state fair 4-H creative writing contest.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Oh, wow. And they had no idea. They had no idea,
and I really had no idea what I was saying with this story. The unself-consciousness of childhood.
Wow.
But I succeeded in finishing that story.
Oh, that's amazing. You also have just activated a memory for me too, by the way, because I didn't win an award for it, but I did get published in a compilation when I was a child, and the story was about someone who got turned into a dragon, and they were very upset about it, and I clearly had just read Voyage of the Dawn Treader when I wrote it. So anyways.
Amazing. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about you, Bill?
Oh, me now. Well, I mean, there's a published one, obviously, Overnight Shift, which was originally published as, I don't know if I've ever told you this, the original title of that, which was free when I wrote it in 2012, was Stranger Things. At the time.
God.
At the
Amazing.
time, it was on Amazon as Stranger Things, and I would routinely get sales for the ebook of this, and I was like, you know what, I'll take your $4. You should have read the description.
Yeah.
This is not what you think it is.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, the
amazing.
line that spawned that as a title is still in there toward the end, but it is. I obviously needed a different name. Overnight Shift is better. The sequel, Second Shift, obviously, like it writes itself.
Of course.
But yeah, that one was made possible, I'm gonna say, by my horniness for werewolves. Like in general,
Amazing.
Werewolves was really my route to TF in general. As I've said a couple times, I don't even go here. I feel a little bit imposter syndrome. A little bit may actually be an imposter. You let me on the podcast, so that's on you.
I did.
Frankly.
I did. It's on me. But I'm by letting you on this podcast, I'm basically certifying that you're not an imposter.
That's
you
awesome.
have the Zill stamp of approval now.
Yes.
So
That's better than a 6th grade ribbon.
Yay!
Love it.
I think they're comparable.
They're exactly equivalent. No one can quite say why.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yes.
We don't want to get into
It's
it.
just it's a weird thing there, you know.
Yeah.
The exchange rate of Zill approval and 6th grade state fair ribbons is
Don't
1
think
to
too hard
1.
about it.
It's 1 to
Don't
1.
think too hard
Yeah.
about it.
They're
It
pegged
is exactly
to each
the same,
other.
though.
They are pegged to each other.
Not the word I would have used. Moving on.
It is the right word.
It is the right word for currency exchange.
I'm literally an accountant, and I know what the right word is. That doesn't.
I know. I know you know.
That one had like a pretty strong, though horny, like guiding light behind it, which was which is basically, what if you were bigger than the werewolf and he was into it? Like, that was something I had not seen. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it was out there at the time, but I hadn't had exposure to it. The concept of werewolves is like this towering sexual, like, dominator monster. And I was like, well, what if you were kind of a big dude? What if you kind of liked that? And it basically wrote itself from that. Yeah. That was enough to propel me to the end of that book. Yeah. I'll kind of sidebar on the issues I've had with the sequel is that did not have nearly as clear a vision, which I think is part of the reason it has like spent so much time cycling. But that's what brought us Overnight Shift. And I make no apologies for it.
I was going to say, I seem to recall that there were some tips you got at a certain live panel that maybe have helped it develop since then. Is that true? Oh, we'll get there? Okay, we'll put a pin in that.
To mention things that I have actually succeeded at writing, I have written, like, it's shocking the amount of transformation art I've done and the minimal amount of transformation writing I've done. Like, there's just something about it that's a bit of a disconnect.
Yeah.
But I've written, 2 transformation short stories, and they were for, like, the Werewolf writing contest that was hosted, 10 years ago or more. 14 years ago? Ooh.
Yeah.
But, everyone would just, write a short story and submit them to a group for people's enjoyment. One of them was a idea, what would it was based on a pun, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yes.
Where a kid is a were-sheep in a family of werewolves. And they're basically giving the puberty talk about, oh, we're so proud of you, your body's changing, and all of that.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm a sheep. This is not good.
And this was mentioned on the last episode of the podcast, so we have a very clear through line.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy, spontaneously decided to illustrate it, Onyx Enigma. Yeah. But the other one was, what would be a situation in which someone would become bored of turning into a werewolf? And working around that.
Yeah.
That one was fun.
That is a lot of fun. I feel like I can see the gears turning. I feel like Bill's skill issue.
I was actually thinking the 2 things you generated were very clear, vision statements. I'll call them. But yes, that would be funny. Just be a sheep, dude. Come on, get it together, man. Just get it together.
Well, when it's come to writing the kind of transformation scenes in particular, what would you say is the most difficult part to tackle? Is it describing the physical changes or the mental changes, balancing both, or is it something else?
This is almost an invalid question for me. I love writing TF scenes. Just have an absolute field day with them. I think the reason I don't generally have difficulty with it, and I would apply this to a lot of like the thriller stuff I do in a situation where somebody is also fighting for their life. Like the disassociation, I feel like would kick in pretty strongly once your body, or at least this is how that's my interpretation. You start growing a muzzle and a tail, you're going to disassociate a little bit there.
At least a pequeño, yeah.
Right, like I stub my toe and I feel like I black out and wake up on the floor 10 minutes later. So like if I'm going to turn into like a 7-foot-tall jaguar, I do feel like I'm going to check out for a little bit there. But that is... So I don't know if that's because a lot of my bread and butter is like murder mysteries and like action thrillers, but that's definitely... I write them through the lens of the character it's happening to, or if a character who's watching it, if you see somebody... turn into like a movie werewolf, I think you're going to check out a little bit on that one too. So that is definitely, like, it's just fun to be like, well, what would you notice? What would really stick with you? What would your mind try to go through in making sense of this? That's just such an interesting thing to me that it's like, I have a field day writing. Those are some of my favorite things to write. But I do the same for like car accidents and running away from someone that's shooting at you. So it's maybe a me thing as I'm saying all this out loud. Toledo, say something.
Something.
Good. Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, it's been really funny because the times I've written TF, it has been nothing like kind of how I depict them. The things that I really like in transformation art are like comparative anatomy, posing, and all of that sort of stuff. Things that are almost third person. But if you're writing in the first person or point of view from the character, you don't get that kind of omniscient view. You have to describe it not only from what they can see and experience with their senses, but also how they would perceive and describe it. So like you can't write a transformation scene in a story like you write a transformation scene in a transformation roleplay session. With someone who really likes like granular descriptions of like individual changes. Like unless your person is like in the middle of an anatomy class, they're not going to be like, my femur elongated. Or they're just really chill about the transformation.
Yeah.
They're just like looking in the mirror and like examining themselves with an utterly clinical eye because they are entirely dissociated except for their anatomy class.
Yeah. Either that or they have the, like, anatomy-focused autism. You never know. It could be either.
Yes! Yeah, okay. So those are the characters I need to write transformations of, apparently.
Yes.
Make it happen.
The only transformation scenes I can write in that granular detail are for people who are already fans of transformation.
Yeah. I will definitely agree on the difficulty with the first person stuff, particularly when you're like trying to transfer over almost like role play style descriptions into a story. There was a story I wrote a few months ago, I think. I don't remember. That had in particular a bit of species change and a bit of like bodily like muscle growth changes. And I realized early on that I had to switch to writing the whole story in third person because of that scene and or like the first one that I got to essentially. And I was like, oh yeah, no, if I'm doing this first person, this does not hit in quite the same way. And that is frustrating because I love writing first person. So I was like, oh, I have to like go back. And anyways, it was very annoying, but at least it didn't come until like 4,000 words in. So I was like, this is fine. But I was also like, oh, so I definitely agree that with that challenge.
Another thing is that I kind of burned out on transformation roleplay really early. So even those descriptions kind of got too much. So
yeah.
Most of the times I mention I have transformations in stories, it's pretty skipped over, which is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's that weird necessarily. If it's not I mean, it depends what the story's about, obviously, but that's, I have just a straight werewolf book, and there's 2 transformations in there, and I don't think either of them are really dwelled upon. It's kind of, well, this happened.
Yeah.
we all have a good time with it, I am told, but it's not like 40 pages of it.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon Avengers. Oh, that happened.
Oh, no.
I do. That one thing about me is every time someone transfers into a werewolf, someone else says, well, that happened. That is true. That's unrelated, though.
it's very important to the immersion specifically, so I completely understand.
It's actually a requirement that Fur Planet has that I put that sentence in every time someone changes into a werewolf.
Interesting.
I know.
I didn't know that was part of their publishing guidelines.
Yes, it's true.
That's really good to know.
These little tidbits about the publishing industry.
Yeah. The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
But in all seriousness, I will also say that, sometimes it really just depends on what the point is of the story you're making. And I feel like there's a difference between a story that has transformation in it and a transformation story. Mm-hmm. And I find that a story with transformation is A, more interesting, and also B, you have a bit more leeway in terms of how in-depth you want to go with some of that stuff. So, I think that totally makes sense. It's all about intent at the end of the day, authorial intent.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you say that when it comes to stories that have multiple changes in the plot, maybe it's the same character, maybe it's multiple characters, do you find that they can become repetitive to write? And how do you approach differentiating one set of changes from another while still making each one feel authentic?
That's an excellent question. This is almost a fundamental of writing, because not to get weird with it, but you could ask the exact same question about sex scenes, and I think that would be perfectly valid. And it's something as a writer, when I'm getting the drone series, I literally don't even know how many sex scenes are in that. There is so much sex in that. I was thinking about this in when I was studying for this podcast. I was this is a good 1-for-1, and the number of them that is in Drone 1 and 2 is, I have no idea. I would have to go through an outline and count them, but
You should have a CinemaSins count as you're reading it, just to figure out how many there are.
Husky boners? That's horrible. Thanks, absolutely.
You're welcome.
The bell broke. Okay. But getting very unsexy in the mechanics of that, it is it's the same as maintaining pacing. You build, you increase the stakes, so where you may not have delved really into what is happening in your first or second transformation, you kind of get way into it. Theoretically, you could throw a witness in there who has a slightly more objective view, they're seeing this stuff happen and shoes ripping, and that's clothes tearing to escalate it. You increase the stakes by your first one was at the ranger station, your second one is at Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg, Illinois. There's 700 people in this room. So yeah, I'm getting away from the sex scene thing. I will don't if you write a sex scene in Woodfield Mall, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear what you're getting from that.
Well, what I'm getting is, if we're gonna map this onto sex scenes, you need to have increasing numbers of people involved. Is that a fair takeaway?
That's also true of the drone series, actually. Now that I think about it. But you the sex analogy is I tend to start out with a third base or a blowjob sort of thing, and then move to more involved sex acts and transformation. Right. I would basically do equivalent. It'd be, I'd structure the plot so you have a one character transforming in an isolated location from their point of view for the first one, and then the second ones you increase the stakes of it, you make it more involved, even if it's just a little different. That serves plot purposes because it is increasing the stakes, and I would also be looking to heighten the danger or push the plot along or make things more significant and concerning just because that's kind of what feeds pacing. But I basically would build the plot around it, essentially.
So essentially a solo transformation in an isolated location is equivalent to a blowjob. Is that what I'm taking away from this?
First of all, yes. Second,
okay.
I think we should do a ranking with that S to F tier thing. Order of intensity for various... Are you going to tell me you could not get an entire episode out of that? Yes, you could.
Oh, no, you could. You easily could. The concept is incredible.
Sure. I love it.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, anything you put in a story, sex scenes, conversations, dialogue, murders, you have to think... I like to think in terms of a 3-act plot structure, and introducing elements and increasing and ramping up intensity of all of your elements to propel a story along to the climax, essentially.
Yeah. And it's incredible how you can somehow escalate from an entire building exploding, but, some stories go
and
from
I
there,
did
right?
that.
So
I did that.
you did do that.
Absolutely. That was my start point. A Spot of Murder available now from furplanet.com.
It's very good.
It's very good.
Stop, and thank you.
It also involves a transformation. Someone turns from a person into a corpse.
That's true.
And then explodes.
Rank that F to S tier. Intense. the TF trigger of getting exploded.
It comes up more often than you think.
Oh boy.
That's like the evil twin version of poof transformation is.
Yeah, is boom transformation.
No one tell Gio we're having this conversation. It's gonna.
Oh god, Gio's gonna be horrified.
Please don't.
That's Gio's evil twin.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But yeah, sorry, Toledo. I know we didn't get to your answer yet.
I don't really have much of an answer. Another thing that you could add is that maybe you could have the significance for the character experiencing the transformation change, even if the immediate geographic or social context doesn't change. The transformations could be more significant. Or you could, if you're doing an Animorphs thing, you just do different transformations.
Right.
In Animorphs, they have that fun thing where they can become multiple things. So they can have a transformation that's for reconnaissance, a transformation that's for fighting, a transformation that's for travel, and just kind of vary it that way. But then again, that's a very specific context.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What was the most challenging transformation you ever had to write?
Just the first one I wrote, I think, for me, when I was really getting into it. Because my end goal is hot, submissive, smoke show werewolf. And I'm like, well, I'm starting with a hot guy. I need a big hot wolf. How do I do? So just figuring out the mechanics of that. Ultimately, I had a blast with it. But, that was just kicking off for me as somebody who doesn't go here.
I don't have much to add beyond what I already said, that making sure when I write a transformation, it's in the voice and perception of the character that I'm writing, and not the voice and perception of me, the writer, who knows the anatomical terms and is thinking about it in the third person. Just separating that from me, which often means that things that I would want to note in a scene don't get in there. But that's because it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the right choice.
Yeah, no, it's always challenging when it's I want to describe this, that, or the other thing, but I know that half of this stuff, it's not going to add to the story, or it doesn't really fit there, or how is the audience supposed to truly understand how this came to be, and then have that communicated in a proper way. I mean, that totally makes sense to me. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about characters and character narratives, because I think one of the other really difficult things to balance at times is how much of a character the main transforming character can be. There's this kind of trope, and again, I think this goes back to kind of writing a story with transformation in it versus a transformation story. Mm-hmm. But with a lot of the latter options, oftentimes there's kind of a discussion about, okay, how much do I want this character to kind of be a blank slate so that the audience can kind of insert themselves in, and that can maybe make it connect better. Or, you have, and this is often more the case in the former, it's no, I want to have, a defined character that is going to react in an authentic way to them, not necessarily just being what the audience would like to see. So, when it comes to that sort of blank state or blank slate kind of approach, if I'm correct, I believe you haven't done either of those. And so I was curious to know why you didn't end up taking that route necessarily of going with a blanker slate, unless I'm wrong.
So for me, characters don't come easily to me. It takes me a good bit to figure out characters, and often they turn out to be oh, I have chopped off a little portion of myself and made that the character. Mm-hmm. Or a larger portion, depending on the character. Yeah. We might get to that later. Foreshadowing.
If I don't
like, for as much as it's hard for me to come up with a character, if I don't have a character, I find I don't have a story. Like, the story just goes nowhere unless I know what's in my character's head. So if I were to write a story, I need to have at least enough character to propel the story. For the sheep one, it was just like a teenager, like, feeling like family pressure and like having something that's perceived as wrong with them. Like, that's all that could fit into a like 1,500 word story.
Right.
But that's all that was necessary. If I had to expand that, well, I would have to do a lot more thought to think about who this guy is.
Yeah, exactly.
1,500. My boy, that's so small. I'm not raising on you. I'm incapable of writing that short, which is a skill issue on my part. I feel like there's so little character you can get into that totally makes sense. But that's still a distinct character. Like, that's an archetype of a human at a point in time that every one of your readers can identify. Like, that's a clear character. But for me, like, I don't, like, I need a story that I want to see the conclusion of, and I need characters I care about getting through that, and, like, otherwise, I just get, no, I don't care, I'll check out, and then it won't get written.
Yeah.
I understand why this is a genre and a thing, but, like, I've never tuned in on blank slate media, like, stories, video games, like the first Dead Space. I'm like, why isn't he talking? There's aliens everywhere. You should be narrating this, dude.
Hey, Dead Space 1 is a guilty pleasure of mine, so tread carefully on Isaac. They did remake it, and it was better. It was better in the remake, and I know that's a controversial thing to say, but whatever. No,
it was. No, I mean, one I got, I mean, this is not TF related. I guess it is if we're going to bring necromorphs into it. We're necromorphs on the S to F tier. Never mind. Don't want to know.
It's like zombie TF, but somehow more metal, I'd say. So pretty low on the category, I think.
That checks out. That's a low D. But yeah, I checked out a Dead Space 1 halfway through, and 2 I finished, because it's like that's part of so much of the motivation for me to get through a story is compelling characters that I want to see get through the story. So yeah, I don't even know that I could write a blank slate story. I understand if you're here for the TF, which is a large population. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're here for. Get going with it. That's what second person writing is for, in my opinion. A lot easier to do there.
That was actually my kind of follow-up question in terms of what your thoughts are on kind of second person writing, because I feel like it was a kind of type of narrative approach that was taken in things like the CYOC or CYOA books back in the day, where like there was a lot of second person, like, oh, you're going to do this, and then you have like your choices or whatever. And that kind of bled in a little bit into some of the writing I used to see more in like the aughts than I would say now. It's definitely kind of fallen a little bit out of favor, but definitely was one of the ways people would write CYOC narratives to varying degrees of success. But regardless, I was curious what your thoughts are in terms of like writing from that perspective as like a medium point between the two kind of ends of having blank slate versus full characterization.
So for Bill's benefit, CYOC is choose your own change.
Oh yes, sorry.
It was like a kind of nested branching forum thing where people would like write snippets of stories and then other people would add like the next things on them.
Yeah.
So like a choose your own adventure thing, but like HTML in like 2003.
Yeah.
That's amazing. There's kind of an equivalent in like the Hypno Circles, which is where I tend to run on Tweens?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what they are.
Twines.
They're things though, but that's that's definitely a parallel. I mean, you 100%, like, second person is valid if immersion is your main goal. For me, that has never been my main goal on it. There's always some story I'm trying to tell or something I want to see through on it. But yes, 100% valid. I think that's like really in my opinion, the best and maybe only mechanism if you want to truly blank slate something and really,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know how you do it in third person. Like there's of course the furry visual novels of the world that have attempted to do that, and it tends to, it's never really resonated with me, I think, is the most polite way I can put that.
Northern Lights out now.
Oh no. Well, to be fair, like Northern Lights, they have a character. Like there are other ones where the person wakes up and has amnesia.
That's true. You know what? That's a fair point, actually.
Like that
sure.
is literally the blank slate.
Like you can tell when that is their intent. Is somebody sat down and was like, how do I just map this character onto the person playing it? You can tell, and it's never really resonated with me. I usually check out of those pretty quickly, like that. But it's whatever what you're coming to the table for.
So I think in this case you could distinguish between a blank slate and an everyman. And I think in a lot of furry visual novels, what you get is an everyman. So like Marco in
guy.
Ad Astra is an everyman style person. Like, does have a character, but is a character that is relatable enough to enough people that many people kind of, their perception melds with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I couldn't write a blank slate. I don't think I could write an everyman because I'm just too weird. But yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. I would struggle to write it too, honestly. I feel like any of the TF stories I've written, either in the more recent past or the more distant past, like on COIOC back in the day, was just, yeah, sure, this is a blank slate, but the blank slate is me, so like I don't really think that counts. Which, to be fair, I think a lot of people actually do that, which again is like, hey, write what you're comfortable with.
I
But
think that's
that
called
doesn't
self-insert. If I'm not
It is, but people will present it as like, oh, this is second person, but like the second person is going to react exactly how, a self-insert of the author would essentially. So,
I mean, that's fair. That's valid.
Might I go on a slight tangent?
yes.
So part of my trouble with writing characters is on one end, I have a hard time coming up with who the characters would be. On the other hand, I try to burden characters with way too much like significance.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things that stopped the Argentine werewolf story. I had like a character in mind, but I was trying to stuff so many things on top of him.
Like symbolism, significance, or like
Yes!
backstory?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, backstory, symbolism, lots of details that like all of any individual character that could have been there, like, was smushed out like those hydraulic press YouTube videos.
Wow. Vivid. And unsettling.
So yeah, like I found success when I cut things off, where I'm like, okay, the character doesn't have to mean this. I don't have to reference that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now I can tell a story.
Did you feel like you struck the right amount of burdening with Hartley?
Hey! Yes. That's how I wrote the story.
Yeah, Campo Lago reference. Mark down your bingo sheet. No, I think that totally makes sense. And yeah, I think especially, I say this as, like thinking back to some of the inspirations you mentioned too. Like, I think Star Trek sometimes would have a little bit of that problem in certain episodes too, in terms of this character is going to show up in this episode and we have put so much on them and they are going to speak basically like the writer is just talking at you. I've definitely seen that in the past. Yeah, good luck character. Sometimes the actors would do a very good job, and it would just be like, well, I sure know that you're speaking dialogue at me. You're speaking in paragraphs.
Do you want to just email me the script and I can
stuff.
catch myself up and we can get back to the cool alien stuff?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, man. Well, I guess another thing that comes up in my mind when we talk about transformation and its intersection with like characters and their narratives is that when you have these, stories that have transformation in them, but that's not really the focus, figuring out like how do you make sure that that transformation scene or segment or chapter doesn't overshadow the story you're trying to tell and the character's arc more broadly. So I was curious to know, when you've kind of encountered those situations, how have you worked to make sure that, this important scene that, you know, people are interested in doesn't overshadow the story that you're trying to tell.
I think it's like anything, basically, like any kind of scene. You could say the same about sex scenes, action scenes, like a chase scene. I feel like most people have a general idea for like the weight that a particular thing happening should happen, or should take up, and you write it, and this is a good use of beta readers also. That's beta as in after first, not Omegaverse beta.
Yes.
You have to smell and find the beta.
There's never any lore on the betas in the Omegaverse, and that's the thing I just don't understand. I'm like, why did you put it there if you're not going to like develop it anyway?
Don't just skip them. Don't just skip beta. It's second. It's next.
They're beta readers because they're the only ones who have any time and attention for reading.
That's
The
right.
alphas and omegas are just too busy.
You can't get the alpha readers and the omega readers because they're having sex and babies and turf wars and stuff. The beta readers do you need someone to go over this? Because I definitely have some bandwidth. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. You definitely can utilize an editor for this. I think this question is perhaps inoculating against a problem that I don't necessarily have, is that I've never done like the TFRP, or it's never been like the point.
Yeah.
That is, it's a balancing act, like anything you put in a story.
Mm-hmm.
So when I write, I will like endlessly cogitate over what I've written afterwards.
Yeah.
And I will get feelings about certain scenes that are kind of like when you find an irregularity on the interior of your cheek, and you can't stop fussing with it with your teeth and your tongue.
Yeah.
Like, my brain will just be like, this does not fit. This does not work, until I figure out how to fix it. And sometimes for transformations, it has been like, okay, I'm chopping out half the transformation.
Yeah.
It's just like,
no,
doesn't work. It's gone. No more irregularity on the inside of my cheek.
That's called editing, if you want another term for
that,
which doesn't include irregularities.
I mean, something getting stuck in your craw is a well-worn idiom, so, I mean, it makes sense to me.
True. Ew, but true.
Ew, but true, yeah. No, I think that's also fair. I think that, in particular, one of the things that I notice when I kind of come across this is that, again, it's partially intent, but it's also partially like, did you just write a transformation scene and then you added some fluff around it to make it a story? Or did you actually write a story? And I feel like in particular, when it comes to... I think sometimes there's also like a sense of audience expectation that can influence some of that writing too, in the sense of like, oh, well, I want a lot of people to write this, or I want a lot of people to read this, so I'm going to write it in a particular way. And sometimes I think that kind of conflicts with, oh, but, you know, I had a character who had a narrative arc that I wanted to explore here, and now half of the story is, him getting excited during the moon, and I haven't really... gotten to any of the like pack dynamics I wanted to explore, or how does this affect his living situation with his roommates or something. It's like, oh well, I ran out of steam, and that's what the audience wanted anyways. And I don't know, I feel like audience expectations can be a bit of a tricky thing to like balance as well. When you're writing, you're thinking about them. If you're not, I think you're like you've mastered a skill, because that's kind of, in my opinion, how a lot of writing should be to some degree. Like, yes, you can think about how it's going to land with various audiences you might want it to hit, but also like you should be writing for yourself. But I know that's easier said than done.
This came up in a writing contest I was moderating, chatting with the other mods about like we kind of got the vibe that a lot of the entrants were writing like with the intent to cut off criticism, and they were talking about it a lot, and I kind of had this weird epiphany that I was like, I don't think I've thought of the reader at any point ever in my entire life in the writing process. Like, I am, like, my stuff exists because I'm like, this is... The reader I'm thinking of is me. Like, that's what I want. I want a murder mystery with a cute gay hyena, and he's gonna solve the murder. And also, every dude looks like he got pulled out of a porno story because he.
I was gonna say every writer, every character is from a porno somewhere.
Listen, that's true. We'll skip on by that. But yeah, that really struck me. The amount of time and energy that I do think, and that's totally natural, is to be like, well, how's this going to land? What are people thinking of? What other stories are out there? But that is talk about a momentum killer. That is my biggest successes where I'm just like, do you in that scene at turning red of all things, where she's just drawing those stupid pictures under the bed for herself? That's me. That's my whole writing process. And your goal as a writer should be to get there.
Yeah.
And if you want to write a 29-page story and 26 pages of it are TF, do it. Put it out there. I think people will respond less to the specific breakdowns of this percentage is action, this percentage is sex, this percentage is TF. Less the mechanics of it and more the authenticity that you put into it. So if you deep in your heart, you want to write a story that's 98% TF. If you're doing that for the audience, people are going to see through that. If you're doing it because this is what you want to read out there, people will have a good time with it.
It's interesting to hear about not thinking about the reader, because I actually think about the reader quite a bit. And in some cases it's okay, readers will expect X. I don't want that. How do I structure my story so that Y is narratively, so that that conclusion cannot be reached or something like that, or it doesn't go that direction.
See. Yeah.
Sometimes I think about the reader just because I'm oh, here's something I'm throwing in that 5 people will really enjoy. There will be some people who will catch this and it will mean the world to them. I don't think I've ever kind of broken a story because a reader is there. But thinking about what the reader might anticipate, patterns that I've observed in other places, has helped me craft a story that kind of threads between lines and gets to a place where I'm more comfortable.
For sure.
No, that does make sense. I think it's interesting that you pitch it that way, because trying to anticipate what a reader might take away, and if that's misaligned with what you want, kind of shifting, that totally makes sense to me. I think, at least from my perspective, I've joked about this, I think, in other episodes of the podcast, but when I'm writing in particular, I generally don't think too much about the reader, but I do think about my inner critic. Who has a name and a personality. But anyways, when I'm writing, if they don't like something, I'll be okay, I need to change it because clearly this is bad, because my inner critic is oh, why are you writing this? So in a weird way, that probably guides a little bit in terms of maybe my own internalized perceptions of what someone might want to get out of my story, but I'm not explicitly thinking about it, if that makes sense.
Totally does. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you are reading your story.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Brooklyn Bob, that's his name. He has a Brooklyn accent inexplicably. I don't know why. Anyways, long story.
That's, first of all, a lot to unpack. Second,
yes,
if my internal critic had a Brooklyn accent, I don't know if I could handle that. That's a lot, right? That's a lot.
I'm reading, yeah.
I feel that's a lot. I could do Long Island. I don't think I could handle Brooklyn. I would stop writing.
Brooklyn would be too harsh on you? Is that what you're saying?
I do. I mean, that's just my truth. I refuse to defend it. Next question.
Okay, where does Queens fit in, though? What if it was Queen?
I feel that'd be okay. I draw the line at Hell's Kitchen.
Wow.
I'm just saying names of places I remember.
You're okay with Queens, but not Brooklyn. I'm judging you for that, Bill.
You're really pushing me on my New York City geography, and I was not expecting that. I
am. Listen, the New Yorker isn't here. I got to do it in his stead, so,
I'm going to get roasted for this.
Oh, my gosh.
Can we cut this? We talked about cutting stuff. Let's cut this.
No.
I feel very strongly that we should cut this.
We need to talk more about New York geography.
More about New York geography. Well, there was one other kind of question I wanted to ask in relation to character narratives, and it's related to mental changes, and I'm sure Bill will have a lot to say about this. But when mental changes are introduced, it can really kind of complicate the narrative structure and a character's resonance with the audience. So I was curious as to how you've kind of navigated that challenge in the past, and if you have any advice for how to best write mental changes in a thorough fashion.
I think Toledo should start on this one for reasons.
I mean, I could say that basically what I find fun about mental changes is switching up writing style.
Mm.
Oh.
And kind of narrative style. So you change how a character speaks, you change how you punctuate, you change the rhythm of the sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about all I have to say here. I haven't really done the like kind of personality change thing where a character basically becomes a different character, either temporarily or permanently.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. I wonder if any of that gets explored in Campo Largo. But anyways, Bill, how about yourself?
My gosh, people will just have to pick it up. Campo Largo
Maybe
launched today, by the way, didn't it?
It did!
It did.
Isn't that? That's wild. All right, I may be dating this episode. I don't know when this is going to get posted.
It's going to be on Tuesday, so yeah, it's very, very recent. So anyways.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Yeah, I suppose you won't post. You can't post it in the past, so I don't know what I'm worried about.
No, we can't pass in the past.
So, mental changes. I'll answer this and then join us for a 7-part series of Bill's opinions of mental changes in TF, weekly through October now, I guess. This is like what I'm here for. Like, this is what I share with Toledo is having fun with this, and then like this is I would say almost all the point on it. It is, like, this is part of the motivation for me. The introduction of instincts to a character that is not expecting to have these mapped over is, like, my bread and butter. Love it. Mm-hmm. I think I have leaned more toward canines in general, just because I think that would be the most impactful, and it's definitely the most fun for me. I think this was a turnoff for some people with Overnight, because at the time I was, well, I would say... At the time, I thought I was really into the alpha omega thing. Becoming aware of other mediums, I would say I was maybe a 4 out of 10 into alpha omega. Just putting that out there. But there are some reviews where it's like, this kind of turned me off. I think I hit, like, where I go with it in the book is pretty tame compared to what else is out there, especially from, like, the last 5-10 years. Like, on a scale of... no mention of Alpha to Sue Lindsay Ellis over the Omegaverse. It's probably, like I said, like a 4 out of 10 on there. But, that's not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm not necessarily hiding it. I will say I'm going to have a field day with that in the sequel, and that's kind of become like the guiding light of where to go with that, because that is so culturally baked in now. Yeah. Like with wolves specifically, which is such a big part of TF, in my opinion, perhaps aspirationally. But the original, like the 40s, the Schlenker study of alphas at the wolf pecking structure that turned out to be largely only related to captive animals, to David Mack accidentally reinforcing that with his book in the 70s, and then spending like the next 20 years trying to rebuff that. And then so 99 was the article he wrote essentially debunking his own work. This was L. David Mack, famous naturalist for folks that don't know. Basically was like, hey, all of this was wrong. Here's all my citations. Here's what I've actually observed watching wolves, the same wolf pack for like 14 years in Canada. Wolf, what we thought is alpha is actually dad and mom, and then that's what an alpha looks like. And then so that was in 99. Obviously, like if you go on YouTube's front page, you can find videos about how to be an alpha male. So this has not left the cultural lexicon. When I wrote Overnight in 2012, it was still very much out there. But then when I published it in 2019, I kind of watered it down a little because I'm like, I don't know where this is going to go. I have to make a space because the science is largely incorrect. So for the sequel, I'm just going to go completely insane with it because the original Schlenker study was valid for unrelated wolves basically forced into the same situation. So you think about a werewolf pack, you might have a family, but you also might have a bunch of dudes that got transformed and now have to interact with one another. So that kind of looks more like the Schlenker study. And it's like, it's not invalid science. I just think that would be hysterical to play with in the context of another big theme of mine, which is identity. So I think also it's been 15 years since I wrote that. There's a big age gap in the original. I was Adam's age when I wrote the original. I am now Dale's age. So I'm switching the point of view on that. And I think the lens at which I'm going to get at this book is the intersection of what he wants to be and how he makes that happen in the context of wolf science, junk wolf science, and werewolf science. So I've just made this the mental change field trip, I guess.
I like junk werewolf science as like the subtitle for second shift.
Yeah. Junk werewolf science.
It is. I do think that's what you should call this podcast episode, by the way. I don't even know if you name them, but if you do name them, you should call it Junk Werewolf Science. Excellent.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well, I was also considering alphas equal daddy.
Yes.
Alpha's our daddy and mommy. And mommy.
Oh,
that's an important
yes.
thing. If L. David Mack was here, and I assume you will have him as a guest on this podcast at some point.
Of course.
He would have things to say about that, I assume. I don't want to project.
All his work on transformations, after all, like, after he not only observed wolves in the wild and in captivity, he also observed werewolves and created a lot of this, a lot of the literature that people are misinterpreting.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yes, mental changes. I cannot imagine writing TF without mental changes. I would be like, that would be like a taco without cheese to me. It's like, what are you doing? Why have you done this to me? I would feel personally victimized.
Well, then I have to ask a follow-on to that, too, because, and I don't want to, like, get too much into any spoilers for Drone, but, like, mental changes can also include, like, elements related to, like, identity death and such. And so have you found that sort of can also complicate the narrative structure, or is that a bit more freeing for the author to work with because you can kind of almost remold the kind of character into whatever it is you need them to be?
Definitely freeing. I think for me, the changes to personality are like the point of it. The most compelling narratives to me are fundamentally altering for like the characters that go through them. Like those are the most impactful. Those strike, like I get the most engaged on those. You can see that in Drone. I think you can see it in Spot of Murder. Like Eno is not the same character at the end as he was in the beginning. It's like, like the big stuff that happens to you is fundamentally transformative. Mentally, like personally, these are like developmental things, and sometimes you turn into a werewolf. So sometimes, also transformative, literally. But that is
absolutely.
Those are all mechanisms of telling a story for me. I think I can't picture something where you turn into like a 9-foot-tall muskox, and you're like, well, I guess I'll go to work. Unless you're playing it for comedy, and again, friend of the podcast, Gio probably has written that exact story. If not,
probably
we'll listen to this and start writing it. But it is. If I'm doing, I don't think I've ever done it like for my own personal convenience. Like, I should have written this character differently. Time for identity death. It's usually the point of the narrative for me. No. Do you do that, Zil? Do you do that? You get halfway through and you're like, this is not working. Something bite this guy. He sucks.
I have never done that personally. I have definitely read stories where that happens, though.
That is such a funny idea.
Interesting.
Ew, this character stinks. We're going to change who he is.
Identity death as editing would be a new one.
That would be a new one. You heard it here. Identity death as editing.
I don't think I can recommend that. I think as an author, I'm like, maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
There's not a lot of things I'm like, don't do that, but maybe don't do that.
I feel that this... I didn't see much of this TV show, but I have a suspicion this happened multiple times on Once Upon a Time.
What, sorry, say that again? In what?
Are you familiar with this TV show?
Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen it.
Okay. So it is just like...
Oh, you're right. Oh my god.
You know what, actually, now that you mention it, I could imagine a number of shows where I could see them being like... Or like they They get cast differently. And
I can't believe I'd buried the memory of this television show because for better or worse, probably more for worse. But they do that. Wow. More than once in the show.
Hey, I was so right.
Frustrating. Yeah.
I was right. I knew it.
No, they literally do a wipe more than once because the whole concept. Spoilers for this terrible TV show. Basically, the idea is that this like group of fairy tale like characters ended up in this town and had their memories wiped, so they didn't know they were fairy tale creatures or characters.
Oh boy.
Because of I forget, it changes in each element, but that's like the original premise. And then they have at least 2 wipes where everyone forgets all over again, and it's like we do the arc differently because of how the mechanics of this wipe worked the second time around. Things are different and whatever. And it is an exhausting show. I cannot believe I watched as much of it as I did. Oh God.
I can't believe that I was right. That was just a guess.
I actually have is there a big bad wolf in that show?
There is a big bad wolf. He, in the first wipe, he dies really early on.
You know what?
And I was like, okay, cool. Great, wonderful.
You should. That's really on you if you kept watching after that point.
And the beast is just Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, they're the same character for some reason.
It's super bizarre.
Yeah,
wow.
It's not great.
You can really tell which shows are getting written week by week.
oh yeah.
Not really a good place scenario in Once Upon a Time, I'm guessing.
No.
I will say though I believe there was a furry character at some point. So you know what? That's my reason for continuing to watch, and I'll stand by that.
That's fair. We'll allow that.
Well, I did also want to chat a little bit about plot considerations, because obviously transformation affects plots in a variety of different ways. And, you know, when it comes to creating them, I guess, were there any challenges that you faced from like kind of almost like a world building perspective when it came to like explaining why a transformation was happening and how it fit into the broader world? And were any of those changes potentially more difficult if they were based on like a hard science approach?
Boy, I think we both have long answers. Probably opposite long answers. Who wants to start? Should we flip a coin?
So I'll start because my answer is pretty short.
Oh.
I've like rarely done world building around transformation. The one time I really did it was with that abortive dragon novel.
Yes.
Where it was tied into how magic existed in the world. Like, dragons were naturally magical and they had natural shape-shifting capabilities. But the rest of magic basically depended on there were like dragon magicians in the past who like wrote up the laws of magic so it could function. And so like how magic works was literally like stored in a library in a building in the dragon capital and regulated by the government. And the villain's objective was to destroy it so that magic would be free again.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So there was some world building there, but again, that story never went places. So
because of the world building? Like, did you get tripped up by that?
A bit. I think I kind of. Maybe I'll revisit it again. I think the biggest problem, though, was tone.
Oh.
Like, it was a fractured fairy tale. It was meant to be kind of comedic. And then a couple things happened as I was writing the nano novel that shot it off in another direction.
It happens.
And I never reconciled the tone stuff, so I never returned to it.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
See previous answer about works in progress. I really got tripped up by world building. Like, Overnight Shift was so easy to write because it's 2 dudes in very confined space. And then as soon as I got past that, it was like brick wall. Because for me, this is what we're going to talk about your live panel at Anthrocon. For me, it was so like overwhelming with like what is out there. Like this is an equivalent. Toledo, when you try to write sci-fi, and you're like this enormous, like weight and size and breadth and like is just out there. How does my thing fit into it? Where do I want to go with it? That's kind of been my experience with TF, because even as like a casual partaker, like there is like every culture on Earth has some form of transformation stories going back thousands of years. Popular media, there's just, like, do you want to do the book series? Like, there's, like, hundreds of these. The entire Omegaverse is out there. Even if you restrict it to, like, well, what rules do I want? Just for werewolves. Just movie werewolves, even. Okay, there's like 1,000 to pick from there. American werewolves in various places. Like, Wolfman, Twilight. Like, there's thousands of things out there, and it was just so intimidating to me that I was like, how, even just picking how I wanted my world to function, it was just like, I got super tripped up in that. Because as soon as you get from just a couple dudes wolfing out to, like, now you have to go to the capital S society of werewolves, and it's like, do I bring other animals into this? Are there other packs? Are they active? What do they look like? Do they have a government? Just off the rails immediately. So that was just went in circles on that for years with Overnight 2. And then I went to the panel, and basically I tried to watch the podcast episode of this because I wanted to know if you actually said what I thought you said, essentially, and I did not know you at the time. But it was basically like, people are here for transformation, period. Like, you don't need thousands of pages of explanation and lore and world building. Like, we're here for people turning into shit, and what if that person was me sometimes, maybe? And as long as you're hitting one of those boxes, like, you're good, fam. And I was like, what have I been doing? I went in there, like, I created a Google Doc to take notes, and it had 2 bullet points, and it was basically those 2 things I just said. Like, people like turning into shit. Also, what if people was me? ? And I'm like, okay, so I scrapped an entire half-written outline of Overnight Shift 2. It originally got into, like, well, here, why did they transform? We need to establish that because, like, we're good science communicators, so it has to be realistic. And then I guess I need a mad scientist. And then now we need some abandoned facility in the area of the Marshall Lake region that he's operating out of, and I guess I'll throw other species into there. And then we can introduce all these other characters, and now what do the other animals look like? Scrapped all of that. I'm like, nope, I'm adding one other pack. It's gonna be tense and horny. That's the book.
Amazing.
Boom.
There
Who
you
transforms? Everybody. 10 times. But, like, and then I wrote the outline in, like, an afternoon, and I was like, excellent. I have those 2 bullet points at the top of this Microsoft Word document, and it's like, that's basically the distillation. So yeah, if you want advice from me on this, it's don't, like, everybody's here for the same reason. Everybody's having a good time. It does not have to be that serious, and it is like, that is an asset that there's so much out there in terms of TF world building, because whatever you do, like, we have a language for it already. Like, there's establishments. You don't have to, like, convince people that the amount of mass in a human being is going to be the same as in a 7-foot-tall werewolf. Like, they're going to go for it. Like, you just got to do it. So yes, that's my 40-minute werewolf society world building rant.
Amazing.
The other thing that I would note is that, just kind of building off what Bill said, just make the world building serve the purpose of the story. There's kind of this inclination, especially in the era of, like, Wikipedia and fan wikis, that kind of and the aftermath of, like, the Star Wars fandom and the where the assumption from some people is that the point of writing is to provide information for an encyclopedia.
Bruh.
And
we can also blame CinemaSins for this too, because I'm sure there's definitely
100%.
Writers who are writing this and they're like, someone's going to read this and be like, the law of conservation of mass states that if you're smoking hot jaguars 9.5 feet tall with a 32-inch penis, and this person was 5'7", that's illegal.
Yeah, no, I definitely, just piggybacking off of the Star Wars comment too, like, I agree, there's definitely the people who are going to go all in about talking about glup shitto or whatever, but, like, at the same time, like, you got to write, if you're trying to write the story, sometimes you have to just jettison all of that. And I just have to say also that second line of, and also maybe it was me, you delivered it in the perfect Abe intonation that he likely delivered that line, because I'm pretty sure he said that one. So a special shout out to Aang and Abe for that, because your impression of that was amazing.
Well, like, it is. It's asking the important questions. What if
it
me?
Is. But what if me? No, it absolutely is. So, you know. Oh my gosh. Would you say there's any sort of cliches that you've found yourself relying on to some degree in terms of the plotting of these stories? And are there any that you wish were just kind of done away with in general so that, you didn't have to deal with any sort of audience expectations around them?
Werewolves in general, period.
Hold up.
No, I'm not saying to get rid of werewolves.
No, that's what you rely on.
I've relied on werewolves because, like,
we were going to have a problem, Toledo.
I've never been a wolf guy. The species I've been interested in have never been wolves. I had a dragon sona, I've had horse, I've had all of these other things, but never wolves. But werewolves occupy such a big portion of culture that they are the transformation that people understand. Mm-hmm. There are tropes that you can plug into. People will not question why you're writing a werewolf story, whereas if you were writing a were-deer or a were-horse, they'd be like, what in the world is going on here? Why are you so weird? So, stories that I've written have more often been about werewolves simply because people have a place to start. And I will admit, there's a place for me to start, too. I don't have to create lore from scratch. Wolves and humans and, let's lump in dogs there, too, have had tens of thousands of years of history interacting with each other. And there are, social dynamics that make it easier for us to interact that we don't have with other animals. People have been interacting with horses for 5,000 years very closely, and it doesn't get us any closer to reading their, body language.
Interesting.
So, there are ways that werewolves are accessible both to the reader and to the writer that have made it easier for me to write about werewolves than species that I'm more interested in.
Yeah. No, that does make sense to me.
For sure. I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I don't want to throw out a hot take that all writing is cliches, but, to an extent,
it is.
There are tropes and elements that, nobody's writing something that no one in human history has seen anything like. So, yes, for sure. The cliches, there's so many. There are all the movies I went off about in my unhinged rant. There are so many things you can rely on, and there's a path for all of them.
Yeah,
and it's pre-established. So absolutely, I almost feel like anybody writing TF is, to some extent, unless you went and this does exist, but with the small carve out of hyper scientific, hyper realistic. Everything else you're kind of going with. Yes, we all benefit from cliches. I'm not excited that the whole alpha omega situation developed over the exact period where I was writing sexy werewolf porn. That timing didn't work out awesome. That and Stranger Things coming out on Netflix, neither of those worked to my benefit. So that's probably something I would throw in there where I'm like, okay, I wish this had been less stupid. But otherwise, yeah, it's love cliches for sure. And I do to be very clear, I don't think this is a TF thing. My the spot of murder is I plotted what are the elements of a cozy mystery. That is an extremely not cliche, but extremely structured
cozy
genre. That's what a cozy mystery is. This is a real thing for anybody that doesn't know it, because it is.
Oh no, it is.
Just if for people who are new to that term, a cozy mystery is yes, someone gets killed, but usually it's someone nobody likes. So it's are you that sad? Probably not. And typically over the course of it, it's not crazy intense. It's not. It's not like The Fugitive or something, or a slasher movie.
Yeah.
It is some jerk gets offed, and then it's I guess we'll solve this since we don't have anything else to do running our combination bookstore / bakery. So
exactly. Well, I just laugh at the mention of cozy to some degree because again, the murder involves an exploding building, which is very Bill. So
But counterpoint, that guy sucked. That guy sucked,
he did
man.
Suck.
So
he did suck.
Talk shit, get exploded.
Get hit.
I guess. Get exploded.
So speaking about tropes, I realize now that there is a genre where I could write about weird people turning into weird animals that aren't wolves. Shifter romances.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, you're right.
Now, hey. Shifter romances. I read the first 18 books of the Anita Blake series, I think Laurel K. Hamilton, to appease my boyfriend at the time. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but those books exist, period. I mean, they're fine. They're fine. It is, if you enjoy that, I'm excited those exist.
Yeah.
I got really confused by book 18. And I stopped. And I think that's more of a logistics thing than like an inherent problem with the genre. She was just doing too much, Laurel. Mm-hmm. Dial it back. Please tell her that when you have her as a guest on this podcast. But
I will definitely mention that.
Yeah, for sure. No, you should write shifter romances, Toledo. I'll be there.
We could come up with the tropes of a cozy transformation story.
Oh my goodness.
That should really be its own episode.
Should be.
Which I would like to be on. As the only cozy mystery author on this podcast currently.
Oh, of course. I
do need to pull rank on that. Thanks.
Oh, there'd be some.
You have to look in the mirror. You have to look at the hand.
Yes.
You have to lovingly describe everything changing.
Yes.
And there needs to be like some humorous cliffhanger where like the roommate walks in and is like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, that just happened.
I'm gonna drop something that I think you need for your cozy TF, and this could be controversial. I'm my first time on this podcast, and I'm just dropping hot takes left and right.
You're starting so much controversy, Bill.
I think cozy TF would only work with poof transformation.
Oh, that is a very hot take.
I said it. I think it would.
I don't know if I agree with that.
If you're gonna have your American Werewolf and wherever exploding ass blood splatters, that's not cozy. That's not cozy. Do you know what is cozy? A poof, and now you're a big soft werewolf. You do a poof, the smoke clears. You're a big sofa. That's so cozy. Are you kidding? I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
I said it.
All right. Bill's hot
take. At last
take.
he said it.
That is my hottest and stupidest take, and you all just have to deal with it now.
Geo and Co sound off in the comments on what you think about that.
Back me up. Please back me up. I really want to be back on this podcast at some point.
No,
I don't
absolutely.
see that happening at this moment.
Put a pin in that.
It's not a yes.
Well, there's one other question I wanted to ask from a plotting perspective, and that's in terms of building transformation plots that are both authentic and also aligned with the kinds of stories you're looking to tell. Have you ever struggled with that, or has that always come through because, say, the intro or the through line was, say, werewolves?
This was like my biggest struggle, for sure. And because I was very motivated on overnight shift I'm like, I want a submissive werewolf, and also if he's a park ranger daddy, all the better. And the second one, it's like, I'm going to write a sequel because there's more story here. And for a decade, it's like, but what story? Like, I didn't really have something. I didn't have like a point. I did not have a story to it. So for me, that's a brick wall. That's not going anywhere. The story I do want to tell now, which is something you see like all over Drone. Like Drone is an identity story masquerading as a hypno-harem porno, which is actually a thriller. Yes, it's a queer identity story masquerading as a hypno-thriller masquerading as... I've lost track of it. Buy my books. Just buy my books and read them, and then you'll know.
It's almost as if there were multiple characters in one.
There's... Toledo, stop. Anyway. What a perfect seg. But yeah, like, identity is a super fun... Like, who do I want to be specifically? And how do I reconcile that with what has happened to me in my life? I think that's a theme I love. I think that's a theme that super resonates with furries, like queers in general. Like, these are our people. These are the things that our people are thinking about and like journeys we've gone through. So I like that for me. Yeah. I like that for readers. That is like that is a cliche in the context of transformation, because, like, who am I and who do I want to be, and also I'm a fucking werewolf now? Like, now that I literally am something physically different, and I'm going to use that as a kicking off point for this character to be like, who do I want to be as a man, as a person? And, like, for the first time, I actually feel like it's going somewhere. So yes, it is. I love transformation. I want to put it in things. And what I've learned over the last 10 years is, like, but I need a plot. Like, there's got to be a thing happening. So for sure.
So I have figured out a way that I can actually approach this question. So one of the hardest things for me to learn was something that I learned when I started writing, getting involved with the Furry Basketball Association.
Oh, yeah.
Massive kind of collective creative project with a bunch of writing, a bunch of art, really in its efflorescence back in like 2009 to 2015-ish. And like after years of like wanting to write stories, I finally found myself writing about like sports players. It was incredibly bizarre. Utterly strange.
Basketball, of all sports, also.
Right, that I knew basically nothing about. Like, my exposure was Space Jam and Pep Band in high school.
What a starting point.
What I eventually discovered was that, again, like, world building paralyzes me. But I can write really kind of mundane slice of life style stuff in like our world. Maybe with some minor changes for flavor and fun, but just like take our world, put anthropomorphic characters into it, and that removes so many of the blockages. The problem for transformation there is that transformation requires some small degree of world building at least.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's hard to fit that into a relatively mundane slice of life world. If I can figure that out, I might be able to write more transformation stories. But, like, the fact that I want to write other stories, but I am effective at writing, like, stuff in our world, means that, like, yeah, if a werewolf were discovered, it's like, okay, what is, like, the medical research establishment going to do about this? Yeah. What is the federal government going to do about this? Like, those are the questions that I would ask, and I would not be able to answer them. I would not really want to answer them, because that's not the type of story I would want to tell. So if I can find a way of squaring that circle, I might actually end up writing more transformation stories.
Well, you just have to keep your sexy werewolves a secret.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Overnight Shift 2.
just don't worry
werewolves.
About it. Just don't worry
Secret
about
werewolves.
it. Just have secret werewolves.
Secret werewolves.
Yes, exactly. I do have to ask: is FBA on the bingo card? I feel like if it's not, it should be.
Oh, no, the bingo card is actually, sorry, segue for all the listeners who don't know what this bingo card is. There's a bingo card that our patrons made one time that gets scored on every episode. There's always someone who fills it out. And FBA is not specific enough to be on the bingo card per se. Now, if we were doing a episode where Toledo is on bingo card, I think it would show up, but not necessarily for the show in general. So.
How many episodes does Toledo have to be on before he gets his own bingo card? Business card, I almost said.
You know what? I'll have to tally it up, and then we'll come up with a figure, obviously. So.
Yeah, maybe people should join your Patreon, and they can see that conversation live.
Exactly, and they can also play bingo with the bingo cards.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, we did have 2 audience questions that I also wanted to make sure we got to. And the first question is from Other Side, and the question is very straightforward. It's just, is there a type of TF that you wouldn't want to experience yourself?
Yes, there are many.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't really care for shrinking as much, unless there's like a purpose to it. Again, returning to Animorphs, like there are functions to different forms.
Yeah, exactly.
But other than that, I wouldn't enjoy it. I wouldn't like... I'm comfortable as a male, so I wouldn't like a transformation that would change that. Also, anything with an exoskeleton? Nope. No, please.
What? That's a line? Really? Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, no, nope. That can stay over there.
The only thing I was going to say is I just would not know what to do with it is inanimate TF. I realize that is the appeal. Like, that's the point for the folks that are into that. But, like, now what am I going to do with that? I simply would not know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
And then I'm learning about types of TF that I did not know exist live in real time. So that's
You are. It's true.
It's the end of my answer. Like, you can do that.
You can do whatever
You know
your
what?
mind comes up
Good
with.
for y'all. Good for anybody who's doing that. Good for you. Live your truth.
Or your fantasy.
Or whatever
Or your
truth
fantasy.
you want to
Yeah.
be.
That's true.
Hey, we're all made of talking animals. One of us,
Exactly.
one of the people on here is dog, otter, and character from a video game you played on PS1. So just do whatever. Do whatever. All this shit's fake. Have fun with it.
Everything's fake. Also, Lombaxes were on PS2, not PS1.
Why don't you?
Sorry, I just have to correct misinformation. So
I thought
you gotta keep
I
everyone
did
honest.
think about that, and I was like, it was probably PS2.
You're close though.
You know,
It's all
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
You don't take.
I went for
It's
it.
true. It's true. I love that quote from Wayne Gretzky from Michael Scott. I will say at least on my end. I mean, I'm pretty sure the questioner put this here because they knew what my answer was going to be. And it's I don't like merged TF, and I would not want to undergo a merged TF. For your reference, Bill, I talked about this in a previous episode on the podcast, but I saw the movie Color Out of Space, and it just completely ruined the concept of merged TF for me. I never want to ever experience anything like that. 0 out of 10 would not want that to happen to me.
Are we talking like Cerberus merge, or like that new movie Together, or like full merge?
It's more like that
equivalent?
new movie Together.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
Together.
And Cerberus, at least, Cerberus can be the other heads grow out of you. It doesn't have to be a merged TF. So, like, that one you can get around pretty easily, at least. But,
I
yeah,
see.
stuff like the Together movie.
Yeah, I think the most common there is, like, the original person's personality kind of splits.
Yes.
And so each of the heads has, like, a different facet of their personality.
Yeah. It's almost like fission TF instead of merged TF.
Huh. Is there you were two separate beings and now you're like basically a hybrid of them? Is that a flavor?
That's merged.
Can you do that legally?
yeah.
Can you do that?
Legally?
Is that merged? I'm trying to draw a line.
It is.
Perhaps
I mean,
we should take this conversation off.
Don't get people started on the Tuvix episode of Voyager, and I'll leave that at that. But yeah, no merging for me.
It's legal in Colorado.
Yes. And to give a slightly different answer as well, I don't really like any transformations that change age much. A few years here or there is kind of whatever, but like I get too existential about that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch it. Don't want to touch it. So
Understandable.
Yeah. The other question we had is from Max Velocity, and he really gave us a softball. So Max Velocity asks, we've touched on the show about the fact that TF and furries as a whole can often being viewed as not safe for work serves to prevent corporate sanitization of the space. But what words would you have to say to a terminally online Puritan who views things from such a sanitized angle that they want our whole shared interest in TF to be gone from the internet?
Oh.
A softball.
It's a softball that hits you right in the face, though. Like, I feel like this, because every year, like, a new crop of extremely online teenagers falls for this about kink at Pride, about pup masks, about baby furs, about feral. And what I would say is what I've always said is that the fringe elements of our subculture get picked off by bad actors who want all of us gone. Like, that's the point. That's really what all of this is they are there are whole Chan operations, and the right-wing side, when they attack these, they think it's because they're the easy things to attack, because they're the least palatable, and they're trying to create infighting. So when these things get picked on, the only thing we should be doing is who's raising this and what are their motives. And spoiler alert, the motive is always make the queers go away. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what it's been my entire life. That's what it's always going to be. Is we're all NSFW in their eyes, and that's what these measures are serving to bring out. And like, don't fall for it. And you'll only fall for it once. And we get why you fall for it, but like, don't fucking fall for it.
So there are two things that I would say to this. One, I was basically a Puritan, but not the like terminally online, like getting involved, getting fights over it. I was like the
Lecturing
introvert Puritan.
Yeah.
No, I was the introvert Puritan who was just like chronically examining myself to make sure I was doing things right.
Oh no.
I remember, like, I would post photo manipulations online, transformation or anthro stuff, and I would be, like, aghast when someone was like, oh, this is so effing hot, or whatever. I would be like, what? What have I done?
Oh, buddy.
It reached an apex on my mission where I was like, oh, this is all a distraction. I've been, like, an inadvertent pornographer. I can't do these things to people. And then I like returned from my mission, I started doing art again, and eventually I realized like there is no art that you could do that will be certain to not turn someone on.
Yeah.
Like, it is impossible for me to police other people's reactions to my work.
That is such a true thing, and such a completely insane way to get to that true thing. That is amazing. That's like, I often hear that in the context of body image, or like, oh, am I weird? What am I into? It's like, hey, somebody's jacking off to this. Somebody's doing it. This is somebody's favorite. Somebody has a whole folder of whatever this is, and
it's true.
Lean into it. So to get there from, my Mormon mission has made me feel weird about this very thing I'm pretty into. Not how I expect you to get there. You're right.
Yeah, addendum to that was that not only can you not control other people, but titillation and appealing to people's like arousal and sexual sense is common. It's everywhere. Heaven's sakes, when the three of us were younger, we remember Carl's Jr. ads where like women were sitting on the beach, you know, making softcore porn poses.
Yes.
On network television as they were like slurping up hamburgers. Like that.
I'm not excited about the use of the word slurp. Again, you're not
true,
wrong.
Though. It's true
you're
though.
Not wrong. I'm not happy.
You know, if they were literally slurping up hamburgers, someone would be into that.
There would be, yeah.
But so that's another thing, and I guess the second thing I would say is to the idea of corporate sanitization. The point that I always make when people talk about corporate sanitization is that it's all about scale. Corporations will find a way to profit from anything. If corporations are not selling to you, rarely is it because they don't want your money. Yeah. Most of the time, it's because you are not significant enough to make them a profit. Right. Like, if you or your demographic or your interest can make them a profit, they will exploit that. Yeah. Like, that's just the way it is. That's why you have, you know, so much stuff that is heterosexual, that is just out there and accepted.
Spoiler. There are, I don't know if you guys know this, there are a lot of heterosexual people out there.
Like, I know. It's shocking.
Like,
exactly.
I know.
That's why there are, like, for him and for her, like, shampoos.
Yeah.
Like, all of this stuff is about sexuality and gender performance, but, like, only when it deviates, only when the scale is smaller do people notice it and debate it. But yeah, if things get more accepted, there will be more of it. Like, 50 Shades of Grey, theatrical release.
True.
Like,
massive.
BDSM is now accepted enough that it sells. People can make a profit on it, and they do.
No, for sure, and I would corollary to that. You shouldn't do anything in your life because there's a corporate interest in it. Your average corporation literally exists to create shareholder value above and exclusive of all other goals. And the average corporation would melt you down and turn you into a protein drink if the return on investment was good. So don't.
And if enough people were into like poof inanimate TF, they would be producing movies about people turning into love scenes.
Yeah.
You have created a level of hell for me. and Geo. Disney Pixar sanitized Poof TF inanimate.
Me and Toledo just had the same thought. I could see it on your face.
The Japanese movie about the person turned into a chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an anime movie about that. Anyway, there you go. That, corporation.
Picture that. Who produced it? How did that? You know what? Actually, I don't want any more information on this. Is there a type of TF you don't want to experience? I don't want to experience watching a movie about someone that turned into a chair.
I've heard it's very strange.
Any studio. If it's strange, I can get behind it. If it's something Disney Pixar produced to sell merch, like I will get to hell and Gio will already be there. And he'll be like, oh, I didn't expect anyone else was coming. And I'd be like, they got me too.
Now I'm just imagining cozy chair TF.
Please don't. Oh, boy.
It's
like a recliner? No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, like a lazy boy.
Why am I asking follow-ups? Like a sectional sofa? Why am I asking follow-ups?
I thought that sofa was the werewolf, though. We already said it's like, turning into a sofa.
So. You're damn right.
That's how it is. Well, that was all the questions I had. I don't know if either of you have questions for me.
I wasn't prepared to ask questions. I've never been on a podcast before.
So what is a story that you want to write that you are cogitating over?
A story that I want to write that I'm what over?
Cogitating. You're thinking about it and trying to figure out how it would work.
That means thinking very deeply, because I looked it up when Toledo said it earlier.
I didn't hear the word. I didn't know what it meant. Okay, I'll throw out 3 because why not? I'm feeling generous. The first is a sequel to the most recent story I posted on my FA, which was like getting more comfortable with your spots. And the idea for the sequel is that, for anyone who's read the story, basically the main character encounters a genie and goes through a whole like self-discovery process with their wishes because the genie only grants wishes that are related to like reshaping yourself or things around you. The sequel is what if the genie then was given to the main character's cute otter boyfriend who is a D&D nerd and then goes kind of mad with power basically. And then the main character and the genie have to try and stop said character from going a little bit too much off the rails. So that's one of the things that's percolating in my mind. The second one is I have my own very nascent visual novel I would like to write at some point. I have written a little bit for it. It's very early days. It feels very like scope above what I'm able to do type thing, but you never will do something unless you try. It's a TF based, the concept is TF based, and one of the things I want to do for it specifically is also allow the audience a degree of choosing the personality of the main character. So there'd be kind of this segment in the introduction part where the audience kind of knowingly but unknowingly answers a few questions or makes a few key decisions in a very low stakes conversation that then kind of guides them towards, okay, so the personality of the character in this story is going to be one of these 5 or 6 pre-written type characterizations essentially. And then there's like different routes and whatever. Anyways, probably way too ambitious. I don't know. That's been percolating in my mind. And then I guess the third I'll mention is trying to do a rewrite of that manuscript that I mentioned at the start of the Alien Star Trek stuff, but cutting out like half of what I've already written and discarding it, because originally it was like a 2-character POV thing, and I realized actually this other character I don't give a shit about. So I just cut all the 25,000 words I wrote for that and just focus on the alien. But yeah, those would be my my answers.
Cool.
Interesting. If only you knew someone who had launched a visual novel today.
I know. If only, right?
Campo Largo, available now.
Should I give the brief pitch for that?
Yeah, sure. Unless Bill had a question for me too.
I do have a question for you, and then we'll get to our pitches. And I guess I'm going to have to come up with one too. Zill, I'm curious what you would want to read, but you would never write. What do you want somebody else to write?
Ooh.
You're like, no, I'm not the person. I don't. This is not.
Oh.
I want to see somebody else's take on this.
Okay, that's a really good question. If I had to pick a type of like story or concept that I wouldn't personally write but would want to see, in particular, I've been playing a lot of like Cinnamon Switch's games. They've done some visual novels related to transformation. Very well done, very well written. I have thought a little bit about like how they've been structured and such, and the intended audience is not necessarily a gay male reader necessarily.
I see.
And I would love to see kind of a take with some of the flavors of their like approach towards writing transformation novels, but from that sort of like gay man lens, essentially.
Cool.
Because they've done a really good job with doing interesting world building. I don't want to spoil too much about their games because everyone should go play them, but I would love to see like a take on some sort of scenario adjacent to that, but again with that kind of like intention behind it, because it's not that I don't think I could write it, I just don't necessarily know how good of a writing job I would do, and that's separate from what I would be trying to do with my own if I ever write it. But I would love to see how someone would approach that, because I also find that seeing other people's approaches to world building is always really interesting to me, and I really admire it because I am not a world builder at heart. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I love when it happens, and I do at least a little bit, obviously, but it's not my forte. It's never been my forte. My forte has always been character writing. Like, writing a character is something I'm very good at. I can come up with a plot, but the world building is always like, and don't worry about it. So I would love to see someone take that approach. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great answer. There is obviously a huge dearth of cool stuff for queers. We're chipping away at it.
Yeah.
Great answer. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I did want to make sure there was a chance for Eyal to also tell people, if they're interested in their stuff, like where can they find you and what are your ongoing projects. So Toledo, I don't know if you want to go first.
Toledo, do you have any news from really recently?
I do have news. So about, as of this recording, about 4 hours ago, I made public the first build of my visual novel that I've been working on for 3 years. You've heard the name a couple times. It's called Campo Largo. It's inspired by my experience on a Mormon mission in Argentina 18 years ago, which is weird to say.
Oh boy.
But it follows a missionary named Elder Travis Hartley. He is a deer. And he's been down in alternate universe Argentina, Paraná, for 6 months, and he's been just reassigned to a new small rural town with a new companion. And things are going to go strangely for him. I can neither confirm nor deny anything beyond that because that would be spoilers. But whole text is written. Like 95% of the art is done. All of the art and text that I have is coded. Basically what remains is sounds and music. And so I'm hoping to get that out over the next year and a half.
Amazing.
And you can find it on itch.io as Campo Largo, CAMPO LARGO. But yeah.
Maybe we'll have a link in the description of this podcast.
Yeah, it will be in the description. And to clarify some Brazilian misinformation, it's not a Mormon nation. So just very, very important clarification there. It is a furry nation, but it's not a Mormon nation.
Now in Nação Mormon.
You know,
that was pretty good, actually.
Although I have to say, what I tweeted about this was, whatever you think this is, you're wrong. And that's definitely true for that comment. So they're kicking it off.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for people to start reading this. I have read the whole thing, and I do want to underscore it is basically done, which I feel like in the furry visual novel space, that's kind of a big deal. It's not.
It is
not going to be one of those 2 builds and then drops off the face of the earth. Like, it is finished. I tend to interact, not like superficially, but like I don't do like the whole join the Discord like deep dive with visual novels. I enjoyed this immensely. It went so many places I wasn't expecting. It's so well written. The pacing's good. The characters are good. Like, I can't wait for people to start experiencing this. It is so good.
It's an incredible story. I also feel lucky and am grateful that I got to beta read for it and give some advice on correct Brazilian pronunciations and syntax. So we always love that. But genuinely, I cried like 4 times playing this visual novel. It has a very special place in my heart, and I really encourage people to check it out because I really think it's something special, and I'm not just saying, like, I genuinely do believe that. So.
For sure.
Thank you.
Every couple years something comes along. Yeah, and it's like, wow. That was like an experience. Even for, if you're not super deep engagement on free visual novels, I had an incredible time with it.
Yeah. And Hartley deserves a hug.
Hartley deserves...
Give him a hug by downloading and playing the game indirectly.
Will he get one? I can neither confirm nor deny.
Harley deserves 1 hug per minute for the next 7.5 years. Yes, he needs it. He needs it.
He does need it. How about you, Bill?
I am on all socials. No, I'm not on all socials. I'm no longer on Twitter for obvious reasons. I'm on Blue Sky and Fur Affinity as UnstableBill, one word. Picked that name in like the early 2000s and just decided the branding was more important than not being weird. You can find me on Fur Planet as Bill Syracusa. As I said, I wrote Furry Murder Mystery, A Spot of Murder, and then a hypno thriller, Drone 1 and 2, and then of course Overnight Shift. And God help me, Overnight Shift 2 is coming out.
Yes.
So let's do the thing where we talk up Bill stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I picked up, well, you're going to get it now, Bill, because I picked up A Spot of Murder at Anthrocon. And there was a little Telegram chat we had that we made a Bill's fan club, basically, of which I am the number 1 fan, I must say.
That's true. Since I am on the podcast, I will clarify you are my number 1 fan. I'm saying it.
Thank you.
Definitively in writing.
Thank you. Make sure you took notes on that, Zaf. We had a plan to even just like, Bill was driving to Anthrocon, and I was going to surprise him by just waiting on his bed with the book. But anyways, he was running late night to go to bed. But no, seriously, the book, incredible. The little fan club we made really added to the ambiance of it, but like the writing is super solid. I was really engaged. I didn't know who the finger was going to eventually land on in terms of who committed the murder. And just, I love Vivian so much. I love her. She's my favorite. She's my bestie. I want Vivian to be my bestie in real life. And everyone needs to understand how much of a queen she is and how lovably stupid Eno is in various points. And I love him for that too. And he's also incredibly horny at all times, which is also delightful. So, and he has every reason to be, because every male character is straight out of a porno in this book. And again, we love that. So I really enjoyed reading that. I read Overnight Shift a long time ago before I knew Bill and loved it too. So, we've talked extensively about that one, but all of them are good, and people should read them and buy them from Fur Planet. And there are local imprints we've discovered because my long distance Dutch boyfriend bought it off of a Dutch website, so we know that it has international imprint, so you can buy it from wherever. It doesn't have to be just in the States, so you don't have that excuse, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there is a European distributor. I've seen it weirdly on eBay and Amazon with like the eBay ones have like crazy high markups, which is like, why? It is. Yeah. It's so weird. Once books have ISBNs and they're out there, it's just like, what? I have Goodreads reviews? What do you mean I'm on eBay for $450? What? Why? You can get it from Fur Planet for $19.99. Don't do that. Don't get it from eBay, is really what I'm saying. But yeah, no, that was the big one because I love cozy mysteries, and like we don't have any like series in our space. It's that's the first book in a 4-part series, and I am working on the rest of them. But you need that out there. So sometimes you want a book and you have to write the damn thing yourself.
I will talk up a spot of murder now.
Uh-oh.
So it is a really fun ride with very fun characters, incredible iconic moments.
Yes.
Like there are like the density of iconic moments in this novel is pretty stunning. And some of them even get illustrations in the novel.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah, it is so fun. I cannot wait to read the further adventures of Eno and Jack and Vivian and Sean, etc.
4 books?
And I will note that, like, I think I read A Spot of Murder in August of 2022. Like, soon after, like, first kind of starting to chat with Bill.
Mm.
And in addition to getting me out of a reading slump, I think seeing a story set in our world may have, like, provided me some confidence to actually sit down and write Campo Largo when I got the idea.
Yes.
Wow.
Like, literally weeks after that was when I started Campo Largo, so.
That is crazy. We've never talked about that.
Well, I'll just also throw in that both times I got out of my reading slumps was because I either read The Snow Leopard, which Toledo gave me, or B, A Spot of Murder. So there you go. You both have that influence on me.
Reading's hard. Like, I get it. Like,
reading is hard. With ADHD, reading is difficult these days.
ADHD, the world is burning down, and like, I'm gonna pick up a book.
Yeah.
I get you. Spot of Murder is set in a thinly reskinned Valparaiso, Indiana, which is where I went to college. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a fan of the Arctic Circle in northern Alaska, that is where Drone is set. And then Overnight Shift, I did the worst job. It's just randomly set in Kentucky. I have beefed up the world building around that, but like if you've ever been to Valpo, you'll spot it a mile away.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much both for coming on the show today. I really appreciate the time and getting to chat with you both about all of the wonderful intricacies of writing, both transformation stuff and otherwise. But I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this as much as we did recording it. And I hope that everyone picks up a book in the next little while, be it Spot of Murder, Campo Largo, whatever may tickle your fancy. But most importantly, that you all stay hydrated and don't doom spiral. Keep an open mind and stay TFy. And we'll see you back here again next week.
Thank you.